Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Brian Holiday, and I'm doing another Brian Holiday review. The reason I decided to tackle the show Bump comes more because of the fact that I found it a little weird that the show is being listed specifically as a web series, although it is streaming on Australian. I apologize. I won't even try and do that accent. I used to be able to do it. At least I thought I did it well. There are many who would say I was horrible at my accent. But that aside, Australia has Netflix, just like everyone else. And then their second most popular streamer is actually a local streamer called Stan. And the content that they produce are called Stan Originals, just like Netflix Originals, Disney Plus Originals, so on and so forth. And the thing that bothers me a little bit is when I looked up the series, because I've seen a few of their series. I've seen Bloom, No Activity. I'm trying to think of the other ones, but I can't remember them all off the top of my head. But I've watched a few of them. And the reason that I started getting annoyed is because I kept seeing them listed as web series and not as like comedies or dramas and so on and so forth. And Stan is on par with Netflix. When I looked into some of the stuff that Stan has in Australia, they carry some of the American series on Stan as Stan Originals, the same way that Netflix and Amazon and stuff over here carry British and Australian series as, you know, their own originals. So you guys have seen them where something is on Amazon Prime and it's an original series, and then you find out later on that it's originally a BBC series and stuff like that. That's actually been a whole big issue abroad, that a lot of the networks abroad have been trying to deal with, trying to make sure that they get recognition for the content that they're putting out. The BBC, I know at one point, was really fighting to try and make sure that when shows get bought and put on streamers, that they still get to put a tag somehow. Because what happened was a lot of the streamers started making so much money off of these shows and making the stars of these shows so popular on an international basis, the BBC couldn't afford them, or actually they could probably afford them, but at the same time, the BBC is a public broadcaster, so they can't technically just throw all the money at actors. But it becomes more expensive to produce these shows because these actors become quite popular, and then their stock goes up, and then it's very hard for you as a network to try and keep them on contract for X price. You then have to start looking at paying them more. So all your productions start going up in cost. So when I see something like Stan being marketed as web series or streamer that isn't really recognized on the same level as Netflix, it bothers me a little bit. And that's why I wanted to bring attention to the series Bump, because I've watched 2 episodes so far, and I like to think that a series like this should get the same recognition that everyone else is getting. So I'm going to try and play the trailer here for you guys real quick, because I want you guys to see what the show is about. So there you go.
Mom!
I can't find Migaloo.
Sure, it's around here somewhere.
It's really triggering when you dismiss my feelings, Mum.
You ready for the big presentation?
I'm a bit nervous.
Okie dokie, who's ready to go?
Yes!
I think you might be having a baby.
No way.
She's having a baby. Congratulations. Wow, this explains the random crying and violent mood swings.
Oh, he's had a baby. Shut the front door.
Do you have any idea how lame it is to cheat on me and have some stoner baby?
What? Is this funny?
Ollie, can I help?
No, you can't.
There's 0 consequences for the guy.
The baby, Dad. It's mine. I'm sorry, Dad.
I don't know how much longer I can keep it inside.
I'm just getting into the spirit. It's baby's first salsa.
How to change your mind.
This is your baby, Ollie. Once you get used to the idea,
She's beautiful.
Can we
you are gonna love her.
Ollie, family. We don't need
No.
like a family.
What were you saying about socially?
Sociocultural expectations of fatherhood.
Yeah, I think I want all of that.
I thought Friday was the worst day of my life.
And then today, do you want to hold it?
Yeah.
I think it's reasonable that I can bring my baby to school. Excuse me.
What are you?
It's just a breast.
How we work this out.
When I watched the trailer the first time, I was very excited for the series because I thought this is such an interesting, unique take on that story. But at the same time, it doesn't really feel like a unique take. You know, I realized that the story isn't. It's an Australian version of the story. There's nothing unique about the take of the story with Ollie. Olympia is her name. But I think what I liked about it was the fact that it felt different. It felt like, for one thing, none of the men in her life are trying to abandon her or run away from it. And as much as the story is about Ollie, for me watching the show, I'm not going to identify with a 15 or 16-year-old pregnant teen girl. I'm watching the show as an outsider looking in on this story that was written specifically for this character and potentially a different group of people. You know, that's one thing that I think a lot of people get confused about when new series are made, is that, you know, when I hear people complaining like, well, this show or this movie wasn't made for you. Nothing has to be made for me, but I can still find aspects of it interesting. So when I say I'm not going to necessarily understand or connect with a 15-year-old, 16-year-old pregnant teen who had what is called, what I learned today, a denied pregnancy, something I never heard of before. By the way, 1 in 2,500 women have this. Denied pregnancy is that they don't know they're pregnant. To the day they don't know that they're delivering, the day it happens that they start getting contractions, they have no clue what's going on. In some cases they still get their periods and everything. Like, I was so fascinated by the idea of this story that I looked into this stuff, and it made me realize that I want to watch the series so I could get a better understanding, because I feel like they're going to explore the fact that this young woman did not know she was pregnant whatsoever, and B, trying to understand the relationship between her, the baby's father, her mother, and the baby's father's father, who's obviously the grandparent. But you find out that the paternal grandfather and the maternal grandmother seem to be having some sort of relationship. And then on top of that, you have Angus, the paternal grandfather. Maternal grandfather. God, I'm trying to keep it straight, guys. The maternal grandfather. So Olympia's dad, who is an actor I recognize. I've seen Angus. I'm just going to try and find exactly what I saw him in, because I've seen him in a few different shows recently, and I do like him as an actor, and he was pretty funny. So Angus found him. Angus Sampson is an actor that I've seen on, and some of you may have seen, as the brother from Fargo. He played Bear Gerhardt, who was the brother who had a cast the whole time. And I've also seen him in a few other things. I'm trying to find the other series that I saw him in. He was in The Walking Dead. And I recognize him more specifically from a little-known series called Night Flyers, where he played Rowan. He's a great actor. He does really cool stuff. I'm going to see if I can find a shot of him real quick here. This is him. This is probably not the most flattering shot of him, because he is playing kind of a bumbling father who's been unfortunately forced to sleep on the boat while the parents seem to be having some sort of weird situation between them. And he, seeing him when I didn't see him I didn't notice him in the trailer the first time. The first time I watched the trailer, I was kind of just in shock of what the story was, because I was just like, oh, this is interesting. And usually I recognize actors immediately. Him, I didn't recognize right away. I guess because he looked so different from when I saw him as Beer or when I saw him as Rowan in Night Flyers. And then, so I started watching the trailer, and then when I saw the cast, I recognized him from his IMDb photo, and I was just like, oh, dope, this guy's in it. And then I watched the episode, and he plays his part well. You know, he's kind of one of those actors that you just appreciate that he's kind of a weird guy, and he always seems to either play this insanely intelligent character or kind of the crazy guy. And I like that he's not typecast in anything so far. But more importantly, let's talk about the lead. The lead actress, I gotta say, for the series, Natalie Morris, Olympia Chalmer Davis, is amazing in the series. She plays, and I'm trying to find out how old she is, because I mean, in these series, you always have actors that are much older playing much younger. So she's supposed to be 15 or 16. I'm guessing she's in her 20s possibly, but she plays the slight OCD. Like in the first episode, you get a little bit of a hint of OCD, or if not OCD, maybe more just someone who slightly superstitious, because, you know, she's going down the stairs at one point, and as she's going down the stairs, she realizes that she counts 13 steps instead of 12. So she goes back and does the stairs again. So this is her running back up the stairs to do them a second time. And I thought that was kind of like an interesting nod to the fact that this character may have some unique qualities. They might be a little, I don't want to just say on the spectrum, because I feel like that's a really easy toss out and also not appropriate. I'm not a medical professional. I just, the reason I say is because a lot of TV shows kind of fall into that trope lately of like, just, you know, a character who's very intelligent and set in their ways is on the spectrum. And I don't necessarily like that. I don't think that is, it feels cheap to say it, but it almost feels, you know, ever since Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch, that kind of archetype, you know, I would say, no, I wouldn't say House. I would definitely say Benedict Cumberbatch on Sherlock, because House was a very different character. House was just an asshole. He's a highly intelligent asshole. Benedict Cumberbatch's Sherlock is not an asshole. He's just clueless to how he's treating people. Actually, he's also intelligent enough to know that he is being rude and disrespectful. He sometimes acts like he's not, but I think that's more just a thing he's putting on. In this case, this character, although this character felt slightly written like that in the first opening scenes, the way she interacts with her mother, the way she's kind of like, you know, you saw the clip where I was saying she runs down the stairs. The first time she counts 13 steps, runs back up, goes down, skips a step to get 12. She's packing her lunch and all that stuff. You know, there's a few times in the episode where she does things that might come across slight OCD, slight spectrum-ish. But again, that I feel is more because I've watched so many series that tap into that trope. I'm easy to believe that that's where they're going. But in this case, I don't think that's where they're going. And I actually hope that's not where they're going. Yeah. So, you know, Natalie Morris is great. She's funny. She does a great job. She's, you know, you can tell that she's really tapping into being like young. I don't know if she's ever felt, maybe she's ever been in a situation where she felt kind of young and hopeless and lost, and that's what she's tapping into. But whatever it is, she's doing an excellent job with it. The guy who plays the father, who I'm gonna fast forward to his scene, which was pretty crazy when he realizes that he's the father. You know, Carlos, his name was Carlos. Sorry, I'm just gonna find his name again. Carlos Sanson Jr. So this right here is the shot where he realizes that he's the father, and he drops a single tear. And I thought that was so interesting. Like, as a shot, I was just like, okay. And then, as you saw in the trailer earlier, he actively wants to be a part of her life. The other person that I found great and passionate and fun was the mom. The mom is what I think the mom works at the school, and she's either a teacher, an administrator. Claudia Carvin. She's fun. And her opening scene is her dancing in her underwear, being really free and spirited. And that juxtaposition of her with her daughter, Olympia, kind of sets the tone for something that I always talk about, where, you know, sometimes when you have parents, you have kids that kind of swing the other way, in the sense that because the parents are so free spirited, the kid might be more strict, and vice versa. And in this case, you kind of get that sense of, you know, the mom seems super free spirited, the father also free spirited. That scene that I showed earlier, he has a tattoo on his arm. He seems kind of like just like a cool dad who's on the boat. And then the daughter is so retentive, but then gets pregnant because there's a moment where she gave in and decided to be free. And that's it. Yeah. So that's Bump. That, I mean, like I said, I only watched the first 2 episodes. I find it interesting. I'm looking forward to watching the rest of the series. Unfortunately, you can't get the series in Canada unless you use a VPN. There's actually some sources online that will indicate to you how to do so. So if you guys want to look those up, I highly recommend it because they offer a free subscription. They have a free week right now. And if you have a VPN, you could watch the show. And yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it, guys. So thank you for watching this another edition of the Brian Holiday review. This is my review of Bump. Again, only 2 episodes. The series just launched on New Year's Day in Australia. So I think it's cool. I think people should check it out. And I also think that they shouldn't be considered a web series because it's not just a web series. It's an actual show. Not that the term web series limits it, but I feel like all this content should be just be considered television at this point. It's all streaming television content. You put it online, you put it on TV, it's the same thing these days. If it's on YouTube, same thing. That's what it is. That's what it is, folks. That's just what it is. I'm out. Peace, guys.